Welcome to Bru Builds, your place for DIY home improvements. I'm going to be doing another tool review on my most recent purchase, this Ridgid 18-volt brushless leaf blower. I want to see how well it moves the leaves around, how long the batteries last, and since I used to rely on an old corded leaf blower until it recently died, how it stacks up in comparison. A few months ago, my 15-year-old Toro leaf blower began to die. It was making funny noises, the fan seized up, and then the motor stopped spinning. Being me, I took it apart and attempted to fix it. I was able to lube the bearing and get it spinning, so I put it back together and continued to use it. Well, eventually it started to have issues again, and it died. I finally gave up on it and tossed it in the trash, which can be hard for me because I like to fix things. And my search for a replacement leaf blower began. We live in a woodsy area, so I use a leaf blower about once a week. But I wasn't wanting to rush out and buy something because tools usually go on sale a few times a year. And who doesn't like a good deal when it comes to tools?
So while I was waiting for a sale, I went old school. I have a Craftsman vacuum that's over 30 years old, from back when they were really good and powerful, and started using that as my leaf blower.
I remember as a teenager, my friend's dad had one, and I was like, you don't have to use a rake?
I also discovered if you remove the filter, it's very powerful, except it kept blowing the hose apart. Also, it's not the most convenient leaf blower to use, especially up on the roof. I'm sure I had a few neighbors drive by thinking, what is he up to now? I do have to say, it was nice to switch the hose and vacuum up the leaves instead of just blowing them around and making them somebody else's problem. My old leaf blower did have the ability to vacuum up the leaves by attaching a large funnel to the underside of the blower and a bag to catch the leaves instead of the nozzle. I didn't really like it and only used it a couple of times. It was super slow and very dusty to use. I prefer just using a rake and an old trash can. Okay, back to the new leaf blower.
Since I already own some Ridgid tools and batteries, I really wanted to stick with the Ridgid line. I did a tool review video and a video using their LSA warranty. I'll put a link to those videos in the description as well as the end of this one, so be sure to watch those videos as well.
I really like the fact that they back their products up with a lifetime agreement. The Ridgid leaf blower specs look comparable to the other manufacturers, but I was concerned that it wouldn't have enough blowing power for my needs, and how long would the smaller batteries that I have last?
Also, I've seen some of my neighbors use some cordless leaf blowers, and some of them seem to do a better job at making noise than they do of moving air.
Well, after a couple of months, a 20% off sale hit, and then I received a coupon from Home Depot for $25 off, so I decided it was time to make the purchase. Let's start with the basics. The Ridgid leaf blower runs on the same 18-volt battery platform as their other tools, boasts 510 CFM, and reaches the speeds up to 130 miles per hour. The motor doesn't use brushes, so it should have a longer lifespan.
What I'm most excited about is the fact that it's cordless, which is a big shift for me after using a corded leaf blower for so many years.
No more dealing with 100-foot extension cords, getting it caught and hung up on things, or wrapped around my feet. But the big question is, will it have enough power to clear the backyard, side yard, and front yard of leaves before the battery dies? The first thing you should do with a Ridgid tool is get it registered for the lifetime service agreement. You need to create an account if you don't already have one, enter in some information about your purchase, and submit it for approval.
Unfortunately, I can't do a true side-by-side comparison with my old leaf blower. See, I should have kept it. But I do have a pretty good memory of what it was like using it for 15 years. Except for the years where I made my son do the yard work. Hey son, look what I got. You can come over anytime and use it.
The blower tube is easy to attach and remove with a push of a release lever on the tube. This is useful if you want to store the leaf blower in a smaller space. There is a variable speed trigger for the leaf blower, as well as a rotating switch. The button on top of the handle is the turbo function. It doesn't actually have a turbo, just a momentary switch to boost the output. This uses the same 18-volt batteries of the other tools in the Ridgid cordless line. I did read some complaints that the batteries didn't lock in well. But this battery seems to be well attached. The blower tube comes with a speed tip with a metal scraper that helps to tackle stubborn debris by concentrating airflow.
Time for the ultimate test. How well does it blow leaves? Let's find out.
This leaf blower arrived just in time. We had some strong winds the other day, so have a lot of leaves to blow around. There seems to be plenty of power. It easily moves the small dry leaves on the driveway. Spec-wise, it doesn't have the top-end 210 mph wind speed of my old Toro, but the much larger 510 CFM airflow volume makes up for it. Comparing this cordless Ridgid leaf blower to my old corded blower, it is doing just as good of a job, if not better. And not having the extension cord leash is wonderful, especially up on the roof of the house. This made clearing the leaves off so much easier. I'll be able to hop up on the roof much more often to keep the roof and rain gutters clean and leaf free. I'm really enjoying the trigger control and being able to run the blower at a slower speed. I can control where the leaves go and not just have them fly all over the place, which works much better blowing the leaves into a pile and actually picking them up and putting them in the green recycling bin. I did end up draining the battery doing this, but I do have another fully charged battery that I can do a battery runtime test with.
Battery life is critical for any cordless tool, especially for yard work. Ridgid claims 15 to 20 minute runtime with a 4 amp-hour battery on high. I only have the 2 amp-hour battery. This one is fully charged. Let's see if I can get 10 minutes out of it.
You can hear it slowing down already at 3 minutes. Uh-oh. Oh, it just increased in speed. Well, after 6 minutes and 1 second, the battery called it quits. That's kind of a short runtime. For smaller yards, the 2 amp-hour battery might be enough, but you'll need a larger or second battery for bigger yards.
I have one of the newer max output 2 amp-hour batteries, and then I have the regular 2 amp-hour battery. I did the run test on the regular one. I'm curious if the max output battery will have a longer runtime. I also want to see how well the leaf blower moves leaves around on grass. Since I don't have a lawn at my house, I'm going to take the leaf blower over to a nearby park and blow some leaves around. Now, that's something I couldn't do with my old corded leaf blower.
It was easy for me to blow and move the large sycamore tree leaves around. Hey look, I left a nice area for someone to have a picnic. The nozzle is longer on this blower compared to what I'm used to. I've banged it a few times into objects. Also, the air intake is on the back of the unit, so you can't really hold it directly in front of you without your t-shirt getting sucked into it. There are some oak trees at the park as well. Oak leaves have little points that can get stuck in the grass. I felt the Ridgid leaf blower move the leaves around and did a good job getting them out of the grass. I am noticing that this 2 amp-hour battery is already starting to run down. If you only own one small battery, I would add an additional cost of at least a 4 amp-hour battery if you are considering purchasing this leaf blower. I have the max 2 amp-hour battery on the charger back home. It should be fully charged now for me to do one more runtime test. Hopefully this battery will last longer than 6 minutes. 6 minutes and 21 seconds, slightly longer.
I've been using this for a couple weeks now, and if you're in the market for a new leaf blower, this one is worth considering. This Ridgid Leaf Blower is a great tool for the price, especially if you can find it on sale and if you're already invested into the Ridgid battery platform. I'm not sure how well it would move wet leaves around, but it moved the dry stuff around my house and at the park just fine. I really like this trigger function, and being able to move leaves around at a low speed really helped to minimize the dust. This does have a lower top wind speed than my old Toro leaf blower, but it makes up for it with a much larger CFM, making it do as good or even a better job at moving leaves around. And it's also quieter. Not having the extension cord is great, but I can see the need for having a much larger amp-hour battery if you have a medium or larger size yard. I'll have to keep my eyes open out for the next sale. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in your comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to receive more DIY and tool review videos. Speaking of tool review, here's the other videos I did on Ridgid tools, and if you want a nicer backyard to use your new leaf blower in, check out this playlist.